Hey guys, Jake Does Sports here with a sit down and talk edition of Jake Does Sports Media and that. Yeah, also in two. Gonna be eating some chocolate cake here and talking and recapping about the past few weeks of Notre Dame football. Been so busy. Trying to think. Last week I was sick. The week before that, probably one of the busiest weekends of my life. I did watch every single game though. Just not able to recap as I was kind of doing other activities while I was watching, but I managed to see most of the snaps and then obviously review the game footage later. But, man, this is a Notre Dame team that is not like any other, in my opinion, that I've seen in my lifetime. Now, keep in mind, I've been watching Notre Dame football since about 2015. I've only seen two coaches coach this ball club. Sorry. Oh, damn it. I've seen Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman. And the way Marcus Freeman coaches this team, I mean, there's just so little to complain about, honestly. There were so many things when Brian Kelly was in charge that I was mind-boggled at how someone could possibly make a decision like that. Especially in the Central Michigan game last weekend, almost every single thing, down to the last minute details that Marcus Freeman did is exactly what I would have done. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff, to be honest. I just like to do this. It's a hobby, talk about the games. But it puts me at ease that he's doing, what I think is the right decision at that time. That just makes me feel good. And being able to get Angeli snaps. That's an example. Like, I'm telling you, Brian Kelly, in the days of old, we would play these teams close, like your Central Michigans, your Tennessee States, your Navies. We would be up 15. We would be up 10 to 15 in maybe like 10 to 12 in the fourth quarter, to the point where none of your backups are getting meaningful snaps in any way, any shape or way. None. It's just completely different with Marcus Freeman and this team. And getting Angeli those snaps is huge for the future of this program and a huge precedent to set. That needs to be the standard. If you want to be a good team, you need to be beating these teams by so much at halftime that you're able to put in the backups and still put the foot on the gas and kill them. That's what you need to do. That's what you do if you're a good, or I should say great to elite team. A great to elite team. Brian Kelly never had an elite Notre Dame team. Never. I would argue in order to have an elite team, you need, unless you're like Georgia, which is really the exception to the rule, you need an elite, not an elite quarterback. You need a great quarterback. A quarterback that can win you games. Has just great talent, in our case, has experience, like Sam Hartman, and just having Sam Hartman is just massive for the program. Brian Kelly of old, he would keep the quarterback room we have and say, let's hope for the best. Marcus Freeman says, no, I'm not satisfied with the quarterback room at the moment. I'm going to go out and get a guy that I know can win us games. That's the Freeman factor, and that's what he's doing to bolster this program in a huge way. So that's just first off, overall, my thoughts of the program right now. We are in an amazing spot. I could not be happier. Keep in mind, guys, this is year two. I'm trying to think. And he still won 9 games last year with Tyler Buckner as the starter for the year, and then Drew Pine. Guys, Drew Pine is the backup at Arizona State right now. Let that sink in. Notre Dame, in Marcus Freeman's first year, came in and won 9 games with Drew Pine as the starter most of the year. That's nuts. And props to him for doing it. We have Michael Mayer, obviously an elite target. I got a feel for Mayer, man. I mean, obviously he's in the NFL now. He's making a ton of cash. He'll be making a ton of cash. He's going to be fine. But if we could have had him on this team, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Because Sam Hartman is throwing dime after dime to these guys. And in my opinion, I think the wide receivers are a little better than they were last year. But you have to give Sam Hartman, I'm talking 80% of the credit here. Because if Drew Pine was under center, those wide receivers are not shining. They're not shining. It's mainly on the quarterback to throw the ball to the right place. All the wide receivers got to do is catch it. Sam Hartman's doing his job. He looked a little shaky in his last drive. I think his last drive against Central Michigan was the only time I was like, some of those throws weren't great. But you got to keep in mind his leg was not feeling amazing. And that, if anyone saw that replay, in that Central Michigan game, that did not look good. And that's the one thing I'm going to say. If Notre Dame can't protect the quarterback and Sam Hartman gets injured, that's on the O-line. You cannot, especially against Central Michigan, you cannot let him get hit that much. You can't. And against Ohio State, this is also going to be an Ohio State preview, you cannot let them out-physical you. Don't let them out-man you. Just don't let it happen. This is supposed to be O-line you. We were getting pushed around a little bit by Central Michigan. That's not okay. And that's part of the reason why Sam Hartman had to rush some of his throws. And again, he still looked great, but it's even more than that. It's just him getting injured. Because here's the thing, guys. Really, for any college football team, take Southern Cal, for example. Actually, I don't know who's behind Caleb Williams, but I mean, one guy, especially the quarterback, and especially at Notre Dame this year, if Sam Hartman goes down, most of your goals for the season can be thrown out the window, in my opinion. Because this game coming up, you need a big-time quarterback to win it. You need that. Last time, it was C.J. Stroud versus Tyler Buchner. Tyler Buchner didn't have the experience. This time, we got Sam Hartman with all the experience and Kyle McCord with none of the experience. He doesn't know what he's doing. He put up 23 with 0 passing touchdowns against Indiana. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't. And if the defense shines like it should, it hasn't been really tested. I think NC State's a decent offense. I don't know who they played last week. I got to see. They're probably a cupcake. But I'd imagine NC State be putting up 35 points a game. We held them to 24. That's better than the average. But it doesn't even matter. If you give up 30 to Kyle McCord, that's all we need. Because we've been over that 40 threshold every time. It might be the first time in program history. Let that sink in. Under Brian Kelly, no matter who we played for, what is it now? 4 games? We never had a stretch of scoring 40 or more points. Never. Let that sink in. And Marcus Freeman's second year gets a transfer quarterback, does it right away. That's nuts. It's just that the upside of Marcus Freeman is massive. And I won't lie to you. There is I think his floor is below Brian Kelly. But at the moment, he looks like the much better coach. Fingers crossed. He looks like the much better coach. I said to everyone it was going to be a risk because he's never been a head coach, but the upside is massive, especially with his recruiting. And Brian Kelly was disinterested in the whole process. That's how you win ball games. Recruiting in December helps you win ball games next December. That's how it works. That's how it works, guys. So take that for what you will. I think, in my opinion, Notre Dame should win the game against Ohio State. I think they should be favorites. There is no reason Notre Dame should lose this game. I think at best their defenses are similar. I think I would honestly give the edge to Notre Dame with all their starters. Last week was a little iffy because we had a few guys out, but if that, I gotta see the injury updates. I don't know how many of those guys were getting back, but I think getting pressure on Kyle McCord is going to be the biggest factor in this game. Because we know the offense can show up. We know that'll happen. It's about the defense limiting this offense, this wide receiver heavy offense of Ohio State. Although their backs are good, I shouldn't say that. They're really a balanced attack, to be honest, Ohio State. And their offense is great, and their offense is very solid. It's very solid. But if you look between both of these teams, the biggest discrepancy is us being home and the experience of the quarterbacks in favor of Notre Dame. And just in my personal opinion, the level. I think Kyle McCord could be great. This is his second of a road game, and he had 0 passing touchdowns on the road at Indiana in week 1 with a whole season to prepare. You got 1 week to prepare. You're going into South Bend in what may be the biggest regular season game since 2017 Georgia. Probably bigger than that. Based on the direction of the program, probably bigger than that. So there is no reason why Sam Hartman shouldn't out-experience Kyle McCord, and why the defense, if the defense just gets pressure on McCord, I think that'll force mistakes, force turnovers, and, that's giving the ball back to Notre Dame to where we're in a comfortable position where we can score points. Because I know Notre Dame of old, you never knew what was going to happen. Honestly, guys, with the predictions, I was just throwing something out there. But I'm as close to certain as possible, fingers crossed, that Sam Hartman can go out there and get us a touchdown if we need it. And get points if we need it. Get this, get that if we need it. You've seen his 2-minute drills. You've seen his 1-minute drills. I know the competition, but nobody's doing anything like that. Maybe Ian Book on a good day since Brady Quinn. I wasn't even watching the Irish back then, guys. I mean, it's just the special amount of talent we have right now at the quarterback position is crazy. And the leverage you can get with that is nuts. Nuts. It completely changes the trajectory of your team if you have a good quarterback. Because everything comes easier. Without a quarterback, like we've been doing the past few years, it was a struggle just to know if we'd be able to put up points, enough points to win ball games. Now we know we can do that. The defense just has to do its job. And I'll be honest, that's the side of the ball I have more questions with. Not because they've looked bad. They haven't looked bad. They just haven't been tested yet. But if they can get pressure, especially with the D-line, and if the secondary is all over the receivers, and that may be the biggest mismatch, not because the secondary is bad, but the wide receivers for Ohio State are crazy. They're crazy. I mean, they have 5 or 6 NFL wide receivers on that squad right now that are going to be drafted. And that's where Ohio State needs to put all their energy into, is the passing game, in my opinion. Because if you give McCord time, he's going to start slinging, and those guys are catching the ball. They're catching the ball. So, if you get pressure on him, he's not going to be able to make those throws. If you get pressure on him, if the lines of scrimmage are dominating, especially for the Notre Dame defensive line, they're not going to be able to run the ball as well. But you got to be careful. It's a balanced attack. So, overall, I think Notre Dame wins. If I had to give a score, I would say 40 to 35. I'll say 40 to 33. is my final score. Pretty goofy score, but I think Notre Dame cracks 40. I think Sam Hartman pops off. And I think the Notre Dame defense does just enough to hold off McCord and win a huge game in South Bend. Notre Dame fans, it cannot be understated how big this game is. You win this game, anything's possible this season. I know our schedule's a gauntlet. Who's the hardest team left? Clemson's fallen off the map. You don't have FSU. You don't have Miami this year. At Duke is going to be a tough one. Louisville, and then USC. Because we got Ohio State, I think it's Louisville, at Duke, USC. That stretch right there is going to determine your season. If you come out of that unscathed, or even 1-1, heck, even 1-1, and you dominate the rest of the way, you take care of business against Clemson and the rest of your teams, you're in playoff talks, in my opinion. I mean, say you lose a close one today or on Saturday, and you beat USC. USC's sitting there maybe 1-2 losses at the end of the year. Ohio State, same thing. Or maybe undefeated even. And Notre Dame's got 1 loss. It's going to be tough to leave them out. So, but especially if you win this game, then you can afford a loss later in the season, in my opinion, depending on the severity. But the reality is you want to win all your games. Take it one game at a time, and Marcus Freeman's been so good at that, in my opinion. The boys just need to do what they need to do your job, play your role, and in my opinion, although I think Ohio State's got more talent, I think Notre Dame's the better team this year. And I don't say that lightly. I never say that. All the playoff games we played in, I thought Notre Dame was going to lose. All the big bowl games against the better teams, I thought that Notre Dame was going to lose. Last year against Ohio State, I thought Notre Dame was going to lose. Heck, even Clemson in 2020, I thought we were going to lose. We somehow won that game. It was mainly because of Trevor Lawrence, but you get what I'm saying. I don't usually pick the more talented team than Notre Dame to win, but it's a special case this year. You got them at home. You have a really good quarterback that elevates the rest of your team in a massive way. And I got Notre Dame winning 40-33. So that's my preview. I think, and to touch on the last 2 weeks, I thought Notre Dame played well overall. Small things to complain about, but nothing crazy. They just kept it rolling, and we're 4-0 going into Ohio State. This is the game. If you don't get up for this one, maybe you just don't get motivated for anything, because you should have no problem with motivation for this game if you're an Irish player, personnel coordinator, anything. This is as big as it gets in the regular season, in my opinion. I mean, it don't get bigger than this. 2 4-0 teams, blue blood matchup, massive playoff implications. Just a massive game in every way. And Notre Dame's got a good shot at winning. I'll be on with a halftime report for this one. It's a big game, halftime report. I've really only been doing the final score reports, but I'll do a halftime report for this one and a final score report. That's about it here on Jake the Sports Guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you Saturday. Big time. Let's go Irish!